Border Patrol agents releasing hundreds of illegal migrants onto the streets of Southern California.
And this comes, of course, as the fight over border security continues in Congress, as we were just mentioning.
Texas, which has become the center of the migration problem affecting the U.S., is boiling like a witch's cauldron. Under Republican Governor Greg Abbott, the state is struggling to overcome the crisis on the U.S. Mexico border, while at the same time fighting the Democrats' moderate immigration policy. As hundreds of thousands of migrants push across the southern border, Texas Governor Greg Abbott's barbed wire and wall on the border is expanding. This week's decision to halt SB 4 by the 5th U.S. Court of Appeals officially proved just how big a problem Governor Abbott and the state authorities are dealing with. But despite the Democrats' efforts to block it, Governor Abbott has made a significant intervention to secure the Texas portion of the U.S. Mexico border. And more than 20,000 National Guardsmen are working hard to stop the flow of migrants. Still, many challenges remain, and the flow of migrants is accelerating. In response, Texas is making another very strong push to bolster the border fight. While so far, the measures at the Texas border have been strong, today marked the day when hundreds of troops were sent to El Paso to reinforce the Texas Border Guard. Our team has uncovered the latest developments on the border between El Paso and Texas, and the deepest hidden points about the sending of hundreds of new troops to the border. Before we start, we'd be honored if you'd subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and click the super thank you button below. Under former Republican President Donald Trump, illegal immigration has become a major political issue across the country. With the migrant crisis unresolved, Trump is running again for the 2024 presidential elections as the Republican presidential candidate. The immigration issue has therefore become one of the main focal points of Trump's second presidential campaign. That's why Texas authorities deployed 700 more troops, including National Guard and Texas Tactical Border Force personnel, to the U.S. Mexico border in El Paso, after migrants were filmed crossing the border fence. The deployment comes after footage recorded by a reporter last week showed migrants making their way through the border fence and past National Guard soldiers in El Paso. Texas Governor Greg Abbott deployed thousands of National Guard troops to the Texas-Mexico border as part of Operation Lone Star, a multi-agency state operation launched in 2021. In a statement sent to the Austin American-Statesman, the Texas Military Department, which runs Operation Lone Star along with the Texas Department of Public Safety, confirmed the arrival of the reinforcements and their location. The Texas National Guard has sent additional personnel and equipment to protect El Paso, the statement said. More than 700 additional soldiers, including 200 soldiers of the Texas Tactical Border Force, have deployed to El Paso over the past week. More than 700 National Guard troops poured into El Paso after migrants breached the barbed wire barrier, Governor Abbott said. This includes 200 soldiers from the Texas Tactical Border Force who deployed to El Paso last week. Our soldiers will protect the line of duty and prevent illegal immigration, he said. The footage of migrants crossing the border defenses in El Paso, which journalist Jenny Tyre described as a riot, has gone viral on social media, with the video receiving millions of views and thousands of comments. Data from U.S. Customs and Border Protection showed that 68,260 irregular migrants were encountered by law enforcement along the Texas-Mexico border in January, after 149,806 encounters in December. Daniel Miller, head of the separatist Texas Nationalist Movement, said in a statement, "It's not surprising this is happening, as the president of Mexico tries to blackmail Texas taxpayers over the border crisis. These migrants know there will be no federal consequences. Their actions continue as they continue to be supported and enabled by the Biden administration." Texas Senate Bill 4, a state legislation signed by Governor Abbott last week, was suspended by a federal appeals court just hours after receiving the green light from the Supreme Court in a 6-3 decision. The law would allow Texas law enforcement to detain and deport illegal immigrants, which is generally seen as a federal responsibility. On top of all of this, the text of a TDPS memo sent to border guards was released the other day, warning that some migrants are becoming more aggressive towards law enforcement as they attempt to cross border barriers and enter the U.S. According to a memo from the Texas Department of Public Safety, Border Patrol agents operating along the Texas-Mexico border were warned that migrants were becoming more aggressive towards law enforcement. The warning comes on the heels of videos showing migrants walking through barbed wire in El Paso, Texas, past several National Guard soldiers. The memo from TDPS to Border Control officers regarding officer safety, stated that according to law enforcement officials on the scene, this now raises concerns about officer safety as migrants are becoming more aggressive towards law enforcement officers as they attempt to cross border barriers and enter the United States. The TDPS memo also said that some migrants have been warned that they will face no consequences for escalating their violent tactics and attempting to overcome those barriers, and warned that this is contributing to the unrest. 9 migrants suspected of taking part in the attack on border defenses in El Paso, Texas, have since been detained, according to a Texas state official who asked not to be named. The immigrant Evaristo Benitez, a 21-year-old Honduran youth from Honduras, was arrested on a third-degree felony charge for allegedly assaulting a public official, the official said, adding that the charges include incitement to riot, assault on members of the Guard, and more than $2,500 in property damage. Governor Abbott insisted that Operation Lone Star, the border control operation he launched in 2021, was working, following the release of U.S. Customs and Border Protection figures showing a significant drop in migrant crossings into the Lone Star State. According to data for the first 5 months of the fiscal year 2024, from October 2023 to February 2024, the number of encounters with suspected illegal immigrants in Texas decreased by 28%. During the same period, there was a 35% and 52% increase in California and Arizona, respectively. The migrant crisis caused tensions between Texas and federal officials to escalate in January, when the Supreme Court ruled that federal agents could remove barbed wire placed along the Mexican border by Texas National Guard troops at Abbott's behest. In response, Abbott claimed that Texas was subject to an invasion and asserted its constitutional authority to defend and protect itself. The immigration crisis has become a particularly contentious issue under President Biden's administration. Biden has previously called on Congress to send me the border bill immediately, but critics argue that concrete steps have fallen short. Meanwhile, former President Trump's border policies also raise questions about the origins of the ongoing crisis. The attempted burglary of a Texas area home and its aftermath turns this national issue into a personal story and calls into question the real-world impact of both Trump and Biden's immigration policies. As a reflection of the wider debate on border security and immigration, this incident in Texas reveals deep divisions and challenges in American politics. In this context, Ratley's story shows how the immigration crisis is not just a political issue, but also how it affects the lives of real people. Together with our team, we have uncovered the most curious, hidden, deeper points of the latest developments for you, in the most detailed way. We would be honored if you subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and click the super thank you button below before starting the video. In the remote and rugged hills along the Rio Grande in Texas, along roads where people enter the country illegally, homes are often burglarized. Often there is little that homeowners, many of whom do not live in these homes full-time, can do. But one man was able to document a burglary and shared the video on his social media accounts. The homeowner is retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Lon Ratley. He said it was especially sad because his modest home has little to offer, and it's a feeling of helplessness. There's nothing you can do, he said in the video. On the issue of illegal immigration, President Biden had previously said to send me the border bill immediately, but no action was taken on this issue afterwards. In his speech on the subject, Colonel Lon Ratley said, "There is nothing there. There's nothing to steal from my house. Food and clothing, I guess. But is it worth it?" Footage from Ratley's security cameras shows the man breaking a window with a sledgehammer and then walking through the house. Ratley received a message alert from the security system and called the U.S. Border Patrol. The footage clearly shows that Border Patrol agents then arrived and eventually took the man into custody. The thief is said to be a Mexican national in his 20s. Ratley filed criminal charges and the thief is currently in custody in Terrell County, Texas. Terrell County Sheriff Thad Cleveland said it is rare to catch such a person because of the remoteness of many homes. Sheriff Thad Cleveland said, "The hardest thing I can do as a sheriff is to have someone call me. I don't have anybody to send, or I can't answer right now. It happens so often because we are overwhelmed at times with the number of people crossing the border." Sheriff Cleveland says many homeowners leave their doors and windows open to avoid damage. Others leave water and canned goods outside to prevent theft. Border agents destroy water and food left out for people crossing the border illegally. Another problem is that burglaries can go unreported for months because homeowners in the area are part-time residents. Ratley's security cameras and alert systems are a rare exception. This is also the first time a home break-in has been videotaped in Terrell County. Meanwhile, a prominent Texas independence campaigner has argued that the ongoing immigration crisis, including warnings that some immigrants are becoming more aggressive toward law enforcement, demonstrates the need for the Lone Star State to leave the Union. The claim was presented by Daniel Miller, president of the secessionist Texas Nationalist Movement, or TEXIT, which campaigns for Texas independence. Speaking after border control officials from the Texas Department of Public Safety warned that migrants were becoming more aggressive towards law enforcement as they attempted to cross border barriers and enter the United States. Miller called Texas independence the only solution. Over the past few months, illegal immigration has led to tensions between federal and state authorities, particularly in Texas. Speaking in response to TDPS's warning some migrants are becoming more aggressive, Miller said, "These migrants know that as long as they continue to be supported and enabled by the Biden administration, their actions will have no federal consequences. Both Mexico and the federal government are doing everything they can to encourage this aggression. If Texas is being forced to stand alone, we should make it official and withdraw from the Union." Last February, a bipartisan $118 billion border and foreign aid bill negotiated in the Senate collapsed when it became clear that it would not pass the Republican-controlled House of Representatives. The legislation would have toughened requirements for seeking asylum and provided additional border security. But GOP critics argued that the legislation did not go far enough in combating illegal immigration. A poll of 814 eligible voters in Texas conducted exclusively by Redfield and Wilton Strategies between February the 1st and 3rd found that in a hypothetical independence referendum, 23% of respondents would vote for Texas not to become an independent state, while 67% would vote for Texas to become an independent state. The poll also found that 44% of Texans are significantly more likely to support independence due to the ongoing migrant crisis at the southern border. This compares to 35%, who said it made them neither more nor less likely to support secession from the US, while 16% said it made them less likely to support independence. So, what do you think about this issue? Please let us know what you think in the comments. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications in order to be informed about new videos. Thank you for watching us.